Parker, Houston just blew out Tennessee. This game was not close. 69-50 final score. Even when Tennessee started to pull back a little bit there at the end, Houston slammed the door. Full emphasis. Tennessee only shoots 29%, 17.2% from three. And I want to emphasize here, the Vols turned it over less than 10 times and still lost by 19 because they shot so poorly, hand in their face constantly, even with the turnover battle and rebound battle being so tight. Now with Duke, right? Houston just played very fundamental basketball, and to be honest with you, so did Tennessee. They had more free throws shot in this game against Houston. They only had 9 turnovers, 35-42 the rebound margin, just a seven rebound difference. That's not crazy enough to make the difference in this game the way that it was a 19-point win. So what that shows me is that even if a very good team plays fundamentally sound against Houston, the Cougars can still not just win, but dominate it. That gives me a lot of faith that Houston can shock the college basketball world by beating Duke.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see with Houston is that what they do against most teams, they take away what they do best. They take away one thing on offense and makes it like beat something else. And I liken it to like what Bill Belichick has done in football for people that follow football a lot more closely, where he's like, hey, I'm taking away your number one receiver, or I'm loading up the box. Like, you got to beat us with your second option.
Yep.
And what I'm interested to see is with Duke, is that some attempt to take Cooper Flagg out of the game with doubles here, or, shadow guard, no catch kind of stuff on one side? Or is it like, hey, Con Kneppel is a great playmaker. He had a great Elite Eight game, right? Is it Tyrese Proctor? Is it getting in the face of one of those guys and trying to take them away? Because ultimately, like, hey, if Cooper Flagg gets 25 or 30, that's fine. They got to score 70 to win. I don't think he's going to score 70, right? Knock on wood. I might just jinx that. But I will be interested to see because it's very intentional, what he tries to take away. And what Houston did against Tennessee was there are not going to be any open threes. We're going to have a big guy at the rim waiting for you and no open threes. Very analytical approach, a lot of like forced mid-range jumpers and stuff like that. And Tennessee couldn't make shots. And it really took that aspect of what they were trying to do away. We'll see what they do against Duke. Duke's a great offense, but they haven't played Houston's defense yet. And I'm interested in how that matchup's going to work.
Yeah, I find it interesting. You look at shot quality, Houston defensively compared to Tennessee offensively. When you break down the analytics, Tennessee's very good at finding open threes. They're very good at spacing. They get into sets pretty easily. For Houston, they struggle to keep teams out of sets. They play really aggressive defensive basketball, but they don't mind if, especially outside the three-point line, you want to get a little more comfortable. It's the second you try to step within the arc that Houston really tightens up and keeps you away from that spacing category. And for the Cougars, I want to reemphasize, this was not necessarily a statistical anomaly, but close to it. Tennessee only made 15 field goals. They only saw the ball go through the goal successfully for 2 or 3, 15 times. Hard to wrap your mind around. 5 for 23 from 3 as well. And again, they had 11 more free throws than Houston. The Cougars only shooting 4 of them in this game and still dominating. What is it, if we're to take something from this game and you say, didn't love X, what is it about the 69-50 win against Tennessee that needs to tighten up against Duke, or is this as good as Houston's played?
Houston opened the second half and really spent a chunk of the second half kind of very lackadaisical offense. Like, hey, we're going to spend 25 of the 30-second shot clock and just kind of dribble it out to waste time here. And then ultimately kind of would chunk up a shot and hope for the offensive rebounds. They did such a good job rebounding in the first half. And then they didn't get the offensive rebound and came down, and Tennessee would get free throws or get a couple looks or whatever. Tennessee shot the ball a lot better in this. Even looking at that statistic right there, they only had 15 points at halftime. It means they had 35 in the second half. Yeah. So I feel like they're looking at like, man, if we just played better in the first half or whatever. But Houston, I think, took their foot off the gas pretty early, and ultimately, I think, kind of let their offense slow down too much. They played a slow pace, but they slowed down too much in the second half. And I think they're going to probably have a lot of film sessions where like, hey, let's find a better shot in some of these scenarios in that second half as they break things down, probably before this recording is even public, honestly.
Yeah. Parker, it's one of the grossest things I've ever seen in college basketball. It's hard for my eyes to fathom when I look at the box score. 3 total fast break points in the game between Tennessee and Houston, all three of them going to the Vols. I say all three as if it's a big chunk there for them. 3-0. Houston didn't have a single fast break point. Tennessee only had one fast break shot go through the goal. Is this the way the Cougars beat Duke? If Duke tries to speed the game up, can Houston play with it, or can they dictate pace enough to slow it down to where this is the kind of outcome they get once again in the Final Four?
I certainly think that if you're looking at similarities between Tennessee and Duke, that's probably one of the things that Houston's going to carry over as well, right? I don't think they're going to force Tennessee into the same shots or force Duke in the same shots that they forced Tennessee into, I should say. But I do think they're going to try and force Duke, much like they did Tennessee, into a slower paced game. Houston plays at like the 300 on KenPom. It was like the 363rd slowest pace in America or something going into the weekend. And the joke was like in Tennessee, first one to 60 wins. Well, it's kind of how it worked out. And I think Houston would rather play that same kind of slow pace against Duke. And you kind of hope that since Duke hasn't had to do that, they almost get frustrated and toss up questionable shots just to get something on the glass.
Duke is excited to be in the Final Four, obviously. This is John Shire's first time to be in the Final Four post Coach K leaving. Houston, Kelvin Sampson, he's been here. LJ Cryer has been here, winning a national championship with the Baylor Bears in 2021. Does Houston have an edge when it comes to pressure? Because all the pressure in the world is on Duke, and I don't think a lot of people nationally are expecting Houston to compete.
Well, and I'd be lying to you if I didn't think there was some pressure in having Cooper Flagg, the presumed number one pick in America. I mean, how are you gonna have a successful season? You have the best player in America and don't win. I think that's certainly one argument. I think it's not only more pressure on Duke, though. I think Houston's got this revenge edge to them where Duke was the team they played in the Sweet 16 a year ago when Jamal Shedd hurt his ankle in the Sweet 16 was in Dallas. I was there. The team looked deflated, and frankly, it was still only a 3-point game after that. Right. And Duke is better this year. I don't mean to say that it's the exact same team for them. They have a bunch of stellar freshmen. But honestly, Houston's mostly returners. And I think they all remember that Duke Blue Devil as like the logo at the end of their season last year. And I think that chip is going to go a long way in film and practice this week as they prepare. I mean, that's something that as good as you want to feel about that Tennessee game, everyone in this roster remembers.
Can you derive a home court advantage in San Antonio? I want to mention this is not against Houston. It's for Duke. There are so many T-shirt fans. There are people in San Antonio, in Dallas, who grew up rooting for Duke because they also love the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Lakers. And, that's the brand that Duke has in college basketball. Is Houston fighting an uphill battle, even being a couple hours away?
They might be in terms of what color the stands are and stuff like that. I know there's already, as we're recording this on Sunday night, there's a bunch of initiatives already out there about getting people from Houston to San Antonio. I will point out, though, that Houston, the basketball program, might actually be more comfortable if it feels like a road game. They played Purdue in Indianapolis. They played Tennessee, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from Indianapolis. Houston was undefeated on the road this season. They only lost one neutral site game in the city of Houston, I guess, technically. That felt like a road game in ways as well. I feel pretty strong about Houston on the road, and it might actually help Kelvin Sampson, those guys, if it feels like a road game, just because they've been so comfortable on the road this year.
Yeah. Parker, we're going to come back to this in 4 days, in 2 days, in 5 days, in a week. What is your, and we're recording this hours after Houston beat Tennessee. What is your score prediction against Duke?
I got Houston in a low-scoring game. I'm going to go like 68-64. I think it's a close, low-scoring game. I think Houston has some success muddying it up. And I think, that there'll be some little frustration for Duke, a team that hadn't had a whole lot of adversity as far as the scoreboard goes this season, and certainly has had their way with controlling the pace against opponents. So I'm going to pick Houston all week. Now, what my score is may change, but right now I'm 68-64. Well,
I can tell you that Arizona was a couple open layups away from beating Duke. They had so many opportunities in the first half that they squandered and ultimately felt the Blue Devils. They could have made this a much easier path for Houston, but instead, here Duke is in their way. Parker Ainsworth, thanks for joining Locked On Big 12 today. Where can folks find more of your work and your Houston coverage all week long?
Yeah, all week it's going to be Final Four stuff unless something crazy happens that I don't foresee happening. Over at Locked On Cougs, every audio and video platform, you get Locked On Big 12 as well, each and every day, just like all the other Locked On shows. I'm probably talking with JJ about the game and stuff this week, but we're going to try and keep that friendly, even if I'm not feeling so friendly right now.
I love it, Parker. That is Parker Ainsworth of Locked On Cougs. This has been, it always will be. We'll be talking the Final Four all week long. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.